Welcome back everyone, Ben here, and today we're taking a look at some of the biggest new games coming out in August 2026. As always, I'll be covering the release dates and UK pricing where it's available. With that all said, sit back, relax, like, comment, subscribe. Let's jump straight into it. Game Freak might be best known for Pokemon, but Beast of Reincarnation couldn't be much further away from catching cute monsters. This is a much darker action RPG set in a beautiful but dangerous world that's slowly falling apart. You play as Emma, accompanied by your loyal canine companion Ku, as the two of you journey across the land searching for answers and confronting increasingly powerful enemies along the way. What immediately grabbed my attention is the combat. Rather than being a straightforward hack and slash, it's built around a blend of real-time action and more deliberate tactical decision-making. Ku isn't just there for story either. Your companion plays a central role in both exploration and combat, giving the game a dynamic that feels quite different from most action RPGs. Visually, it's also a big departure for Game Freak. The environments look stunning, with a world that's equal parts beautiful and melancholic, while the creature designs and boss encounters shown so far suggest there's plenty of variety waiting throughout the adventure through a post-apocalyptic Japan set in the year 4026. I'm also curious to see how this lands simply because it's such a different direction for the studio. I've seen them experiment before, but this feels like one of the most ambitious projects outside Pokemon, and it'll be interesting to see whether they can establish a completely new RPG series, especially since the Pokemon franchise of late has come under a lot of criticism for its visuals and gameplay innovations, and yet here we see Game Freak really flexing their muscles here. If you're after a story-driven fantasy adventure with stylish combat and a strong companion system, Beast of Reincarnation looks like one to keep firmly on your radar. Beast of Reincarnation releases on the 3rd of August. The standard edition will be priced at £49.99, while the deluxe edition costs £57.99 and includes a selection of cosmetic skins. Forget saving the kingdom. In Sovereign Tower, you're the one responsible for running it. Rather than charging into battle yourself, you take on the role of the Sovereign, ruling over a magical tower that's home to an ever-growing band of eccentric knights, each with their own personalities, ambitions, and inevitably, egos. Your job is to recruit new allies, assign quests, manage relationships, and steer the fate of your kingdom through a series of difficult decisions. It almost feels like a cross between a management sim, a visual novel, and a narrative RPG, with a focus placed far more on the leadership than combat. The feature that really stands out though is the time manipulation mechanic. If events don't unfold the way you'd hoped, you can literally rewind time, uncover hidden information, and make different choices on future attempts. Rather than simply reloading a save, replaying events is woven directly into the story, encouraging you to experiment with different paths and discover outcomes you may have missed the first time around. I also really like the presentation. The hand-drawn artwork, expressive character portraits, and fantasy setting give it a lot of personality, and it feels like one of those games where the characters themselves will probably become the main reason people stick around. Sovereign Tower releases on the 6th of August, and there is a demo available right now on Steam that you can try, although there's no pricing currently been announced at the time of recording. If you grew up playing games like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet & Clank, or the original Sly Cooper trilogy, Duskfade is probably going to grab your attention immediately. The developers describe it as a love letter to classic 3D action platformers, and from everything we've seen so far, that comparison feels completely justified. Fast movement, precise platforming, stylish combat, and colourful worlds all combine to create something that feels refreshingly nostalgic while still looking thoroughly modern. You play Zirian, accompanied by a mechanical cuckoo, on a quest to rescue your sister after the mysterious clock tower plunges the world into eternal night. Time itself plays a major role throughout the adventure, with the story and gameplay both revolving around manipulating and overcoming its effects. Movement also looks like a huge focus here. You'll be jumping, swinging, wall running, and slashing your way through beautifully crafted environments that seem designed to reward exploration just as much as combat. It looks fast, fluid, and packed with personality, exactly what you'd hope from a modern platforming adventure. Honestly, this feels like the kind of game we've not seen enough of over the last decade. Big publishers have largely moved away from this style of action platformer, so it's great to see an indie team bringing it back with what looks like a lot of confidence and polish. If you're missing that golden era of 3D platformers, Duskfade could be one of the easiest recommendations of the month. Duskfade releases on the 13th of August, and there's already a demo available on Steam that you can try right now. If you've ever wondered what Hell Let Loose would feel like in the dense jungles of Vietnam, you won't have to wait much longer. Hell Let Loose Vietnam takes the tactical, communication-focused gameplay the series is known for and drops it into one of the most iconic and brutal conflicts in modern history. Just like its predecessor, battles support up to 100 players with 50 soldiers on each side, fighting over sprawling maps where teamwork matters far more than individual kill counts. The setting completely changes the pace of combat too. Instead of the wide-open battlefields of World War II, you'll be navigating the thick jungle, fortified villages, and claustrophobic environments where danger can come from almost any direction. Looks like positioning, ambushes, and coordinating with your squad will be even more important this time around. If you're after a military shooter that values tactics over twitchy reflexes, This is shaping up to be one of August's biggest multiplayer releases. Hell Let Loose Vietnam launches on the 13th of August. The standard edition is priced at £34.99, while the deluxe edition costs £54.99. Set in a flooded version of Arkham during the Roaring Twenties, you'll explore abandoned streets, collapsing buildings, and nightmarish locations while trying to survive the horrors created by an ancient eldritch force. This isn't just about solving mysteries anymore either. Combat, resource management, and making difficult choices all play a much bigger role. The world itself looks incredible. Flooded alleyways, crumbling architecture, and grotesque Lovecraftian monsters create the sort of unsettling atmosphere that Frogwares has become known for, and if they can build on the detective elements from the first game while tightening up the survival mechanics, this could be something really special. One thing I will say though is that I'm not a huge fan of the edition structure. Standard edition is coming in at £41.35, and the deluxe edition adds a few cosmetic outfits for £45.45p. The premium edition costs £49.59, and includes a brand new location called the Holloway Manor, a standalone 2-hour investigation and 24-hour early access if you pre-order. Personally, I'd much rather see gameplay content available to everyone instead of being locked behind the most expensive edition. However, if you're a fan of Lovecraftian horror and atmospheric survival games, The Sinking City 2 looks like one to watch, and it releases on the 18th of August. At first glance, Twisted Tower looks like a colourful trip through a 1950s amusement park. Then the mascots start trying to kill you. This first-person action horror game throws you into an abandoned theme park that's been overrun by twisted fairy tale characters, deadly traps, and plenty of environmental puzzles, all while you're climbing higher through the park in the hope of winning back the love of your life. What I like most is the contrast between the setting and the horror. Bright neon signs, cheerful attractions, and nostalgic Americana are constantly at odds with the unsettling enemies lurking around every corner. It gives the whole game a really distinctive identity that stands out from the usual abandoned hospitals and dark forests we tend to see in the genre. Combat also looks satisfyingly over the top, with an arsenal of unusual weapons helping you blast your way through the park while uncovering the mystery behind your own past. Feels like it's borrowing a little from BioShock, a little from classic carnival horror, and mixing it all into something that's very much its own thing. There's no demo available just yet, and pricing hasn't been announced, but Twisted Tower has definitely become one of the most intriguing horror games on my radar this month. I did try the Next Fest demo for this, must have been early 2025, and really enjoyed it, so really looking forward to this when it releases on the 18th of August. If the first Mortal Shell felt a little too slow or methodical for you, the sequel looks like it's turning the intensity up several notches. Mortal Shell 2 is a standalone follow-up that keeps the series' unique shell swapping mechanic, but makes combat far more aggressive. Instead of hiding behind a shield and waiting for an opening, you're encouraged to stay on the offensive, chaining together brutal attacks while possessing the fallen bodies or shells of powerful warriors, each bringing their own weapons, abilities, and playstyles. The world itself also looks far more ambitious this time around. Rather than moving through a largely linear experience, you'll explore a sprawling, interconnected kingdom that's been devastated by false gods. Hidden paths, powerful upgrades, and terrifying bosses are scattered throughout the world, giving you plenty of reasons to venture off the beaten track. I'm really interested to see how this one lands, because the original had some genuinely clever ideas, even if it divided opinion. From everything shown so far, feels like the developers have taken that feedback on board and focused on making everything bigger, faster, and more fluid without losing the identity that made the first game stand out in the first place. If you're after another challenging Souls-like to sink your teeth into this summer, Mortal Shell 2 looks like one of the strongest contenders for that. Mortal Shell 2 will launch on the 20th of August. The standard edition is priced at £39.99, while the Devout edition costs £47.99. That includes 3 days early access alongside a selection of cosmetic skins. Something about the Aliens universe that just works brilliantly in co-op, and Fireteam Elite 2 looks like it's building on almost everything the first game did well. This time around, squads of up to 4 Colonial Marines are dropped into some of the deadliest locations in the franchise, where every mission quickly turns into a desperate fight for survival. Xenomorphs aren't just charging at you head-on either. They'll stalk you through dark corridors, ambush from vents, and attack in overwhelming numbers, forcing your team to constantly adapt. One of the biggest additions is the new Specialist class, which gives players far more freedom to customize their loadouts and roles within the squad. Combined with smarter enemy AI and expanded class abilities, it sounds like teamwork is going to matter even more than before, whether you're holding a defensive position or scrambling to escape an endless swarm. The first Fireteam Elite surprised a lot of people with how enjoyable it was alongside friends, and this sequel feels like a natural evolution rather than a complete reinvention. Aliens Fireteam Elite 2 releases on the 25th of August. Standard edition will be priced at £41.99, while the premium edition costs £58.50 and includes additional cosmetic DLC for your marines and weapons. But after all the horror games, Souls-likes, and military shooters that we've had this month, Luz Lagoon feels like a bit of fresh air. This cozy exploration and crafting adventure has you flying a little seaplane between beautiful tropical islands, gathering resources, and helping rebuild communities damaged by powerful storms, while slowly uncovering the mystery behind your missing Uncle Lou. What immediately stands out is just how relaxing everything looks. Rather than rushing from objective to objective, the game encourages you to take your time, explore each island at your own pace, and use your multi-purpose tool, the Swirler, to collect resources, clear debris, and help the people you meet along the way. It also looks like your seaplane becomes a huge part of your adventure. Unlocking new upgrades allows you to reach more distant islands, opening up fresh areas to explore while gradually piecing together the story behind Lou's disappearance. Sometimes it's nice to have a game that simply lets you slow down, and Luz Lagoon looks like it could be one of those perfect palate cleansers before the flurry of games releasing between September and December later this year. Luz Lagoon launches on the 27th of August. There's already a demo available on Steam if you'd like to give it a try, and there's no pricing that has been announced at the time of recording. For years, PC players have been asking Konami to make more of the Metal Gear series easily accessible, and this collection finally brings together some of the franchise's biggest missing pieces. The headline edition is, of course, Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots, a game that was famously locked to the PlayStation 3 for almost 2 decades. Alongside that, you're also getting Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker HD, plus the Game Boy Color classic Metal Gear Ghost Babel as bonus content, all bundled together with a digital soundtrack. Whether you're discovering these games for the first time or revisiting them years later, it's a great opportunity to experience some of Hideo Kojima's most influential work without having to dust off older hardware. Peace Walker remains one of the series' most important entries, while Guns of the Patriots finally becomes accessible to a much wider audience. Sure, many fans would still love to see full modern remakes of these games one day, but simply having them preserved and playable on current platforms is a huge win in itself. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 releases on the 27th of August, and it will be priced at £44.98. One of my biggest surprises from one of last year's showcases was seeing the Plague Tale universe return, but not in the way I expected. Instead of following Amicia and Hugo, Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy takes us back 15 years before the events of the original game. This time you step into the role of Sophia, the smuggler introduced in A Plague Tale Requiem, as she journeys to the mysterious Minotaur's island in search of answers buried beneath ancient myths. From what we've seen so far, exploration looks to play a much bigger role than before. You'll navigate dangerous ruins, solve environmental puzzles, and uncover long-forgotten secrets, while still having to outsmart enemies rather than charging headfirst into combat. The series has always excelled at creating tense, grounded encounters, and it looks like that philosophy is very much intact here. What really intrigues me is how the developers are blending Greek mythology with the grounded historical world that A Plague Tale is known for. It's clearly something much larger lurking beneath the surface, and I'm looking forward to seeing how those ancient legends tie into the wider lore of the series. If you enjoyed Innocence or Requiem, this feels like an easy recommendation. Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy launches on the 27th of August, and it is priced at £43.99. If you played the original Breathedge, you'll already know this isn't your typical survival game. Breathedge 2 once again throws you into the vacuum of space, where you'll be gathering resources, crafting equipment, expanding your base, and trying to stay alive. All while the game constantly pokes fun at itself with its trademark offbeat humour. Even your pet chicken makes a return, because apparently no space adventure is complete without one. The sequel looks much bigger in scope too. Instead of simply surviving on your own, you'll recruit and manage a crew, build larger operations, and explore a much wider stretch of space filled with abandoned stations, strange discoveries, and naturally, a rather evil corporation that's making life difficult for everyone. I tried the demo for Breathedge 2 last year during one of the Steam Next Fests, and I really enjoyed the mix of survival and comedy woven together. One minute you're worrying about oxygen and crafting supplies, and the next is throwing another ridiculous joke or absurd situation at you. It gives the series a personality that's very different from games like Subnautica or The Last Caretaker. Breathedge 2 enters Steam Early Access on the 31st of August. Pricing hasn't been announced at time of recording, but if you're after a survival game that doesn't take itself too seriously, this one is definitely worth keeping an eye on. And that wraps up some of the most interesting games releasing throughout August 2026. For me personally, the standouts have to be Beast of Reincarnation, The Sinking City 2, and Breathedge 2, but there are honestly quite a few games this month that could end up surprising people. Sovereign Tower looks like it could become a real hidden gem, and I'm also really interested to see how Mortal Shell 2 builds on the original. As always, let me know down in the comments which games you'll be picking up, and if there's anything I've missed that deserves a shout out, I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more upcoming game coverage, and if you want even more recommendations, first impressions, and playthroughs, make sure you check out some of the other videos here on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.